The Twin Otter aircraft shuddered violently as it crossed the Transantarctic mountains. Inside the cockpit, ice spread across the windshield like frozen veins. The altimeter spun. The radio crackled with static, then died completely. Pilot Sarachin gripped the controls as the plane dropped through a wall of light. Her co-pilot, Dr. Elena Vorobyova, a glaciologist returning from a research station, braced against the instrument panel. The wings caught a downdraft. Metal screamed. Then impact. The fuselage tore across the ice shelf, spinning, breaking apart in sections. The sound was deafening, a collision between human engineering and the oldest, hardest surface on Earth. When the wreckage finally stopped moving, there was only silence. The kind of silence that exists nowhere else on the planet. Only 2 women would walk away from that wreckage, and Antarctica was just beginning. Sarah opened her eyes to white. Not the white of clouds or snow, the white of absolute cold. Her face was pressed against fractured glass. Blood ran warm down her temple, then froze against her skin within seconds. She turned her head slowly. Pain shot through her shoulder. The cockpit was gone, sheared away. What remained of the fuselage lay tilted at 40 degrees, half buried in ice. Wind howled through the torn metal. Elena. Her voice came out as a rasp. She tried again, louder. Elena. Movement. From behind the collapsed seats. Dr. Vorobyova emerged, crawling, her research parka torn at the sleeve. Her face was pale, shocked, but her eyes were sharp. At 53, Elena had spent 2 decades studying ice cores in extreme environments. She knew what they were facing. "We need to move," Elena said. Not panicked. Matter of fact. Now. Sarah tried to stand. Her leg buckled. Elena caught her, and together they stumbled out through a gap in the fuselage. The wind hit them like a physical force, 60 miles per hour, carrying ice crystals that cut exposed skin like glass. The temperature was -35 Fahrenheit. It would drop further after sunset. They were 150 miles from the nearest research station. The emergency beacon was somewhere in the wreckage, crushed or frozen. The radio was dead. No one knew exactly where they'd gone down. The storm had pushed them off course before the instruments failed. This was Antarctica. And Antarctica doesn't negotiate. The true survival documentary begins not with the crash, but with the first decision after it. Sarah wanted to stay with the wreckage. Standard survival protocol, remain with the vehicle, wait for rescue. But Elena was already scanning the horizon, her experienced eyes reading the landscape like a medical chart showing a terminal diagnosis. "Look at the ice," she said, pointing to the surface beneath the plane. Spiderweb cracks radiated from the impact point. "This isn't stable. We're on a shelf. If this breaks, we go into the ocean." Sarah looked down. Through the cracks, she could see darkness. Water. The shelf was perhaps 30 feet thick, enormous, but in Antarctica, nothing is permanent. "How long do we have?" "Hours. Maybe less." They worked in the bitter cold, salvaging what they could from the wreckage. 3 emergency blankets. A first aid kit. Flares. A small camp stove with 1 canister of fuel. Protein bars, partially frozen. A hunting knife. Elena's research bag contained a portable thermometer, notebooks, and, crucially, waterproof matches. No tent. No sleeping bags. No proper shelter. Sarah's training kicked in. She'd survived emergency landings before, but never in an environment this hostile. Her shoulder throbbed where it had hit the control panel. Elena moved with a slight limp, something wrong with her left ankle. 2 injured women. Minimal supplies. The sun hung low on the horizon, a weak disk that provided light but no warmth. The wind never stopped screaming. They dragged the supplies 200 yards from the wreckage, to where the ice seemed more solid. Using pieces of torn fuselage, they built a crude windbreak. It wasn't shelter, not really. But it was something. Night in Antarctica is not like night elsewhere. The darkness is absolute. The cold deepens. And the silence between wind gusts carries a weight that presses on the mind. Elena and Sarah huddled together under the emergency blankets, their bodies the only source of heat. They didn't talk much. There was nothing to say that they both didn't already know. They were in the most remote, hostile environment on Earth. Rescue would come, if it came, only after someone noticed they were missing, calculated their last known position, and sent aircraft into the same storm system that had brought them down. Days. Maybe a week. They had supplies for perhaps 2 days if they were careful. Sarah felt Elena shivering beside her. Or maybe it was her own body. In extreme cold, you stop being able to tell where you end and the environment begins. "Tell me about your research," Sarah said quietly. Anything to fight the silence. Elena was quiet for a moment. "Then, I study ice cores. Drilling down through layers. Each layer is a year. Some of the ice I've studied is 800,000 years old. That's a long time." "Yes. It puts things in perspective. This continent has killed many people. Explorers. Scientists. Pilots. It will be here long after we're gone. It doesn't care about us." Cheerful thought. Elena's laugh was dry. Realistic thought. Antarctica doesn't hate us. But it doesn't help us either. We survive by being smarter than our instincts. Outside the windbreak, something moved. Sarah saw it first. A shape against the white. Distant. Perhaps 200 yards away. "Elena. I see it." Neither woman moved. The shape was large. Quadrupedal. Moving slowly across the ice shelf with a rolling gait that spoke of immense power and perfect adaptation. "That's not possible," Sarah whispered. But Elena's face had gone very still. Very serious. "Polar bear," she said quietly. "Male. Probably young, judging by the size. Polar bears are Arctic. We're in Antarctica." "Yes. Which means this one is far, far from home. Lost. Probably arrived on an ice floe, drifted south for months. It's starving. Desperate." The bear hadn't seen them yet. It was moving parallel to their position, head low, searching. Even from this distance, Sarah could see the ribs beneath the fur. The animal was massive, perhaps 800 pounds, but emaciated. A polar bear is the largest land predator on Earth. Its sense of smell can detect a seal breathing through ice from a mile away. It can run 30 miles per hour across ice and swim for days in open ocean. And this one was hunting. The women stayed absolutely still. The bear passed, heading north, and disappeared into the white landscape. "It will circle back," Elena said. "They always do. Once they catch a scent." Sarah felt her heart hammering. "What do? We don't sleep. We stay alert. And we pray it finds something else to eat." But there was nothing else to eat. Not for hundreds of miles. The second day was colder. They'd burned through half their supplies keeping warm. The camp stove provided brief respite, 20 minutes of heat that felt like luxury, then back to the grinding cold. Sarah's shoulder had stiffened. Elena's ankle was swollen, purpling beneath her thermal layers. They saw the footprints around noon. Massive prints, 20 yards from their windbreak. The bear had approached during the few hours they'd allowed themselves to close their eyes. exhausted. It had circled, watched, then moved on. Why didn't it attack? Sarah asked. Caution. We're an unknown. Not seal-shaped. Not moving like prey. Elena knelt by the tracks, studying them with professional intensity. But it's learning. Next time it circles, it will be closer. The time after that. She didn't finish. They spent the day improving their position. Using the knife, they cut the emergency blankets into strips, creating noisemakers that would alert them to movement. They arranged pieces of wreckage into better barriers. Sarah found a length of metal tubing that could serve as a weapon, though against an 800-pound predator, it felt laughably inadequate. The sun moved across the sky without providing warmth. Evening came. And with it, the breathing. Sarah heard it first. A rhythmic sound, deep and wet. The sound of a massive respiratory system processing frozen air. The polar bear stood 30 feet away. In the failing light, it looked prehistoric. White fur stained yellow with age and hunger. Small black eyes fixed on the two women with terrible intelligence. Its head was enormous, wider than Sarah's entire torso. When it opened its mouth, the teeth were yellowed, designed for tearing through blubber and crushing bone. It didn't charge. Didn't roar. Those are behaviors of animals that can afford to waste energy. Instead, it walked forward slowly. Testing. Learning. Don't run, Elena whispered. Running triggers the chase instinct. Sarah's hands were shaking. The metal pipe felt like a toy. The bear stopped 10 feet away. This close, she could see the individual hairs of its fur, the frost on its muzzle, the terrible patience in its eyes. It had survived in the Arctic by being the perfect predator. Now, displaced and starving, it was doing what evolution had designed it to do. Hunt. Elena moved first. Not toward the bear, away from Sarah. Creating separation. 2 targets instead of 1. The bear's head swiveled, tracking the movement. Sarah understood immediately. If the bear focused on Elena, she could try to distract it. If it came for her, Elena would do the same. Teamwork. The only advantage they had. The bear took another step. Its breath created clouds of vapor. It was so close now that Sarah could smell it, a wild, alien scent of fur and fish and ocean. Elena shouted. Not words, just noise. The bear's head snapped toward her. In that instant, Sarah banged the metal pipe against the wreckage. The clang echoed across the ice. The bear hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty entered its posture. These prey items were loud. Aggressive. Not behaving correctly. Elena shouted again, waving her arms. Sarah joined in, making herself large, threatening. 2 injured women, freezing and terrified, pretending to be dangerous. The bear backed up 1 step. Then another. Then it turned, not fleeing, but withdrawing. Conserving energy. Reassessing. It walked away slowly, with terrifying dignity, and disappeared into the darkness beyond their perimeter. Neither woman moved for a long time. They didn't sleep that night. They couldn't. They sat back to back, watching the darkness, jumping at every sound the wind made against the wreckage. It will come back, Elena said. Not a question. Yes. Tomorrow we need to be ready. But ready for what? They couldn't fight it. Couldn't outrun it. Couldn't hide from its senses. They could only survive each encounter and hope rescue came before their luck ran out. The 3rd day began with a sound that changed everything. Aircraft engines. Distant. To the east. Sarah scrambled out of the windbreak, waving, shouting, knowing they couldn't hear her. Elena lit 2 flares. Brilliant red light burst across the white landscape. The plane banked, turned toward them. 40 minutes later, a helicopter from McMurdo Station set down on the ice. The rescue team found 2 women, hypothermic and injured, surrounded by signs of a polar bear's persistent stalking. They also found the bear itself, a mile away, watching from a pressure ridge. The creature that had no business being in Antarctica, lost and desperate, surviving against impossible odds. Just like the women, Sarah and Elena were treated for frostbite, dehydration, and their injuries. Sarah's shoulder required surgery. Elena's ankle was fractured in 2 places. They spent a week in the medical facility at McMurdo Station before being evacuated. The polar bear was never seen again. Likely it starved, or the ice shelf it was living on broke apart and carried it into the Southern Ocean. There was no way to know. The women stayed in contact. Sometimes survival creates bonds that don't break. Years later, when interviewed about the 3 days on the ice, Sarah was asked what she'd learned. She thought for a long time before answering. Antarctica doesn't care if you live or die. It's not hostile, it's indifferent. We survived because we worked together, because Elena understood the environment, because we got lucky. But mostly we survived because we didn't give up. Even when giving up would have been easier. Elena, in a separate interview, was more direct. People think survival is about strength. It's not. It's about making the next decision. And then the next. And then the next. Until either rescue comes or it doesn't. The plane wreckage remained on the ice shelf for 3 years before the ice broke away and carried it into the ocean. The emergency beacon was eventually recovered, crushed but intact, its battery long dead. 2 women walked away from a crash that should have killed them. They survived extreme cold, injuries, isolation, and a predator that evolution had designed to be perfect. They didn't conquer Antarctica. They simply survived it. And sometimes, in a place that hostile, that indifferent, that beautiful and terrible, survival is enough.